All right, well, again, Daniela and Susanna, thank you very much for the invite. I'm particularly happy to be here tonight and just to share some information with everyone who's interested in marketing. Now, this presentation's been designed for people who don't necessarily have a background in marketing. So it's not too technical in terms of some of the digital aspects. So we talk a lot about strategy. We talk about what's involved with different components of digital marketing. Because, you know, we don't have like 20 or 30 people, I can explore any particular points anyone wants to talk about if it's a really burning hot issue. But saying that, I've got an absolute ton of information, so it will take a while to get through that. But I'm happy to be flexible. So just one last check in terms of my voice is coming through now. You can hear pretty well? Okay. All right, well, we'll just get stuck into it. First thing I'll do is get rid of that. All right, so this is the webinar, a roadmap for success in digital marketing. My business is a marketing agency, and I'm basically focused on leveraging digital marketing with marketing automation technology to really get the most out of clients' budgets and really drive lead gen that drives more opportunities and delivers sales generating customers. My background, I've been around forever. So I've been in a whole lot of sales and marketing roles for 20 odd years, and also business operations. And I've worked in everything from, you know, large banks like Combank and St. George, down to smaller companies and even family businesses. The sort of industries I've worked in is financial services, building products, home decor products, art products, educational, and food. So they're the sort of main places that I've worked over the years. Just move this a little bit more, sorry. So what isn't digital marketing? Well, it's not one activity, it's not one campaign, it's not one advertising campaign. The best results come from multiple campaigns and tailored to specific objectives or any issues that your business might be facing. And those elements can all work concurrently or side by side, doesn't matter. But for me, the absolute key is that anything that we're doing in marketing has to have an overall goal of driving sales. And that means in all of the businesses that I work with currently, and even my corporate career, I've always been very closely aligned with sales. And you'll see a lot of that sort of thing coming through today. So this is what we're basically going to cover tonight. So websites, a bit of the technical side and SEO, digital strategy, how we develop that and what are the components of it. Content marketing is a big section, sources and creation. Social media, the platforms to use and why you maybe want to use them. We can chat a little bit about that. Digital advertising, the channels and the campaigns. And then we'll finish up with database marketing and email marketing. So with websites, the important thing there is, you know, who are you talking to? When you design a website, when you think about your website, who are you talking to? Who are you? And why should that person visiting your site even care? Why should they even be bothered to visit you? Your website, it really is a dynamic brochure that's on 24/7, 365. So it's an always on piece of marketing that's always available to anyone who might be interested to visit and learn more about your business. Websites, in terms of design, straight up front, in terms of telling you what is and what isn't, it is difficult. It's best if you've got the budget for it, you should use a professional designer. And why I say that is their experience is going to save you a lot of time. The way they look at a website and how they sort of break it up will make a lot of sense to you in terms of what's the content that you need to put on. if you work with a designer, you absolutely must provide a written brief. And I can send you a template for a brief, or you can just visit Dr. Google and just find that there's a million templates on Google. And when you use one of those, it'll make you think about what you want to achieve, how your business is better than other competitors, and you'll also be forced to think about the flow of your website and how it's going to work. And sooner or later, you're going to have to develop some high-level copy, which is, again, sort of high-level, what's on this page, what are the points, and then you need to write it all, and you need to edit it. And also at the end of all of that, you need to think about your terms and conditions and the graphics that you want to use as well. But in terms of working with designer, you absolutely have to write all the copy before they start and give them all the graphics, or agree with them all the graphics that you want to use as well. Otherwise, you just waste time. In terms of some best practice ideas, you don't have a choice. You've got to have a responsive design for your website. And why that is because people now will open your site on desktops, on phones, on tablets, any other sort of mobile device that is out there at the moment, and everyone has to have a good experience. You don't want to cram too much on your website as well. You want to ensure that you give your designer a bit of freedom to say, okay, this is what I want, but you need to love white space. You need to not clutter the site with too much information. And if you give a ton of information to your designer, they're going to use it all, and you'll end up with something that's not really user friendly. And I can't help myself but say, edit, edit, edit. Whatever you write, come back to it and write it again, because you need to keep it as tight as possible and get to the point as quickly as possible. Call to actions, always try and finish a section or a page with a call to action, not action. Things like, for more information, contact us. Keep up to date, join our mailing list. For a no obligation review on anything, click here. But don't go overboard with sales types offers. You want to be very judicial with those and just have your best possible offers on your site. And they should be compelling. They should be something that the visitor has to think twice and say, well, that's something interesting. I need to have a look at that. So saying that, if you don't have budget for a website designer, then you can certainly build your own. And I've certainly done it a number of times, and I'm quite comfortable with it. A few points, if you're going to do something like that, obviously you've got to register your domain name, and I use places like Crazy Domains. So there's a link for you if you want to have a look at that. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't think about is you need to think about whether you need to register a trademark. And that's especially if you've come up with some funky new name for your business, or indeed, even if it's a product, a new product that you have dreamt about and you've got this great name for it. You need to think about trademarks. You need to get some legal advice on whether you need a trademark. And IP Australia is a good place to review that. I've met lots and lots of people, and I've read about it time and time again, where someone goes out, drives a business name, drives a product name, and sooner or later they come a cropper in terms of someone saying, well, I actually own that name, and you've got to stop, and you lose all that momentum in terms of your business. Definitely use a website building platform. Crazy Domains offers that as part of their platform. And you also have other things like Wix, which are all drag and drop style building platforms. Or you can just buy a template, like Template Monster. Just go there. You've got every imaginable template. These are cheap as chips. You wouldn't have to pay more than, sub $100, I think, would be a pretty reasonable price to get a template. And then again, you've got the domain name registered, and then you'll get the template monster. People will load it up for you, and then off you go. All you have to do is basically edit. In terms of search engine optimization, and again, we've got so much content, I actually might try and speed up a little bit. It's necessary, but it is complex and it is confusing for a lot of people. SEO is also known as organic search. Basically, it's how people find your website through search engines. So, you know, you need to be aware of SEO to attract prospects, you know, grow your customer base by people finding you and being interested in your products. You might have a new product or service that you want to drive through or launch without that. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot on advertising, because organic search will do a bit of the job. It won't do the entire job, but it's a good way to start. And again, if you think about it as a dynamic brochure, you can come back and you know, just send people, direct people to your website through all these other activities that we talk about. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it basically, again, a little bit technical. It's about manipulation of data, online content, and website code to line up with what a search engine is expecting to see and how they behave, so that you're seen by those search engines and indexed by them. Your web designer should know a lot about this sort of stuff if you do use someone. Sort of things you'll hear about is a keyword phrase, long tail keyword. These are all just parts of how searchers will find you. Today, people are using more words, so your keywords actually probably will need to be phrases. And also, you know, we're also moving past typing in searches, and we're using voice commands as well. So that's, again, you need to be aware of that, and you need to implement it into your content. And that's the next sort of spot. So all of this gear, search engines will look at your website content, and they'll, you know, look at those things that I've listed there, the metadata, the tags, the alternate, I think it's alt tags as well, image names, all of that sort of gear is used in the search engine. And again, you know, we could talk 3 hours on this stuff and just scratch the surface, but this is just to give you a sort of top of mind sort of thing in terms of what to think about. To make your site better, think about links to your website, and a good quality link is a link that's defined as high value or authoritative by the search engine. So, you know, you might link your website to an industry association because you've got a bit of content on their site. All of that sort of stuff is valuable for your website, and you should actually look at building a plan to specifically do that. Fresh and engaging content is always critical for these things to improve your SEO and make it interesting for people to come back. If the same old stuff's there time and time and time again, why should they come back? In terms of how to do that, you've got news sections, so you can talk about your business or industry trends. You need to blog on your site as well, so keep up to date in terms of information, views, guides, tools, all that sort of stuff. And that's what I tell a lot of clients. You've actually got to have a point of view. You need to say, well, if you're going to come here, I'm going to tell you what my view is on a particular point. And you have to sort of put yourself out there a little bit and cop the criticism or the feedback when that happens as well. But this is about making your website interesting. And you need to actually update your website regularly. I would say to clients that I work with, if your website's 3 years old, it's time to just redo the whole thing. And again, that comes back to being fresh and also taking advantage of any sort of new technology in terms of web design. A little bit about strategy in terms of digital marketing strategy. You know, this again is a very, very big sort of topic. And once we finish this little presentation, you're going to have a lot of things to think about. You know, website building or improvement. You're going to think about social profiles and campaigns. You're going to think about inbound and outbound marketing and advertising. You know, where do you start? What's the most important thing? If you don't have significant experience, and I think, you know, tonight's audience, a lot of the younger people out of the you know, the Youth Association, you might only have a few years of business up your sleeve, and this can be daunting, and it's easy again to lose time and sort of wade around in terms of what should I do. So this is not a little sort of mini MBA in terms of business strategy development. These are just from years of doing this sort of stuff, my sort of personal views in terms of how you might want to think about it. So where do you want to start? You want to start small. You know, look at the baby steps first in terms of what's the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that you really want to work on, that you're so excited about doing, and then work your way up with complexity once you've done a few of those initial plans or identified what you want to do. And again, this is my personal view. Always come back to one key critical outcome in terms of, I don't care what it is you do, whether it's social, website, partner marketing with people, will it grow your current sales? Will it increase the prospects that you're dealing with? And is there something in there to convert prospects to customers? If that's not part of the overall plan, I'm just not interested. And more to the point, especially if you're working with other people, if your strategies have an impact on sales in terms of, I think it's going to grow current sales or help to grow it, it's going to increase prospects, all that sort of stuff, people in your business will notice it, because everyone's interested in growing the business. Everyone wants to know how we're going to beat last year's targets and benchmarks. So if you've got that slant in it, everybody will want to know. If you don't, then you've got your classic marketing problem of, you're going to sell the benefits. You're going to sell why this strategy is important to the company. You know, I want to build a brand. No one gives a shit. Why? You know, sell me why we have to do and invest resources in that. And again, if you're running your own business, doesn't matter what size, you know, all of this stuff, if we're not growing sales, if we're not aligned to sales, what's the point of it all? SWOT analysis is a nice, easy way to, again, identify the areas that you might want to start think about in terms of strategy. So strengths and weaknesses, you know, think about them in terms of what's unique to your business, products, services, or relationships. Relationships are with your customers, with your supplier partners, so the vendors you deal with, the distributors you deal with, the manufacturers you might work with, the service providers you might work with, or associations or whatever. Think about relationships as well. And opportunities and threats, you know, current or new, and you know, are they easier to convert or more in the long term? It should have been long term. So that little part that we've just went through, again, that's to help you when you're inundated with all the different things you've got to do. How do you find the low-hanging fruit to get started? Once you've got some runs on the board, then you can get a little bit more complicated. Content marketing. So what is it? Basically, it's one of the most key things in marketing, especially digital marketing these days. It's a strategic approach to creating and distributing valuable and relevant content, and consistent content as well. And again, ultimately, it's about driving engagement with your customers in a profitable way. So instead of the old way or the classic way of pitching your products or services, what you're trying to do is to present really relevant and really useful content to your customers that's going to help their business issues, or, you know, if you're doing retail, their personal issues. So that's a quote I got from the Content Marketing Institute. And again, if you Google that, you'll come up with a million different versions of that same sort of point. Another way to look at content marketing is storytelling. And if you look at that diagram, it sort of does, I like it because it covers everything. So in terms of talking about your business and why people should be interested in it, you need a bit of creative, you need to have a brand, you need to have your content that encapsulates your creative in your brand. You need marketing to distribute it. And then communication, to me, there is interactive, two-way communication with your prospects, your customers, your clients. And at the end of the day, you're hoping, in terms of digital marketing, you're hoping that this will resonate with the people that you're talking to, so that they have a connection, whether it's emotional or, if you want to call it, business connection, whatever. There's some sort of connection, and then they want to share it. The viral part there, you know, good luck with that. That's big stuff that, you know, I've only seen a few instances of that sort of taking shape. But again, that little sort of diagram, I think, is a good way to look at it all. Content is the fuel for everything that you do in marketing. Whether it's social media marketing, content, you know, content will fuel that as well. Yeah, SEO. Yeah, SEO will highlight the sites and publish publish quality content to your people. PR, again, is based on content that resonates with your readers. Pay for click, your advertisements need content behind that. And inbound marketing, again, content is critical to driving those inbound leads and the traffic that will come from that. The other sort of reality pill for everyone listening is that this is one of the hardest things in marketing. And I just looked at that quote and I thought, well, you know, it's easy to talk about content marketing, and what we're going to talk about now, you know, I will show you it is difficult. And the first thing that anyone can do it, but you need to be focused on it and you need to be regular. So those points down there. Focus development, you need to research for the content on trends and forecasts. And also another area for content is with your business relationships, use other people's content. So that's, in terms of developing content, that's a sort of starting point. This content creation pyramid, I think, is a really nifty way to look at content overall as well. So even before you start, and just looking at that pyramid there, you can see up the top is really highly valuable content. It's the white papers, it's the ebooks, it's thought leadership, it's research that you've done or got other people to do for you. And as you go down that pyramid, there's less effort, but it's not as valuable. So that's, again, a good way to look at it. Before you start to develop content, think about what's in your library: brochures, flyers, advertisers, trade show materials that you've used in the past. And you need to use your existing content first. So you need to curate it and use it in different parts of that pyramid. And what I'm saying there is, you know, let's say you develop, you know, you put a lot of effort in and you develop a guide, which would put it number one on the pyramid. Some people will develop that guide, publish that guide, get some great feedback on that guide and move on to the next thing. And that is a total waste of money and investment in your time. What you need to do is slice and dice. So use that big piece of content and then edit it down to long form posts. Get your designer or someone to develop infographics from it. Use it again in short form, you know, posts on your LinkedIn profile or Facebook, right down to the bottom. So you keep reusing your content. And why you do that is you will burn through everything in a second. And again, the experience I've had is people say, yeah, I've got tons of content, and we will burn through all of that in a month. It's just the way it is. So, you know, you need to get over the shock of that. Once you've used your existing material, you need to start focusing on developing new content. That first piece of content is going to take a lot of effort, and I'm talking original content that you actually put effort into. It's going to take you ages to develop. It's going to take your team and any other stakeholders you've got. It will take time to develop it. Once it's published and used, then you're going to have the shock of saying, shit, I've got to do that whole thing again for the next piece of content. And, you know, you have to learn how to do it faster with less resources. And in time, you have to focus on develop a process for you, your business, your people, that lets you develop content fast, and it's focused and it's efficient. We've already talked about that, so I'll flick past that. But again, that third point, because content is so hard to create, make sure you talk to suppliers, vendors, wholesalers, anyone you've got a business relationship, anyone who you might be reselling their product, use their stuff and keep slicing and dicing. In terms of, and it will be, I'm telling you, the shock that I'm talking about will happen. Don't worry about it. It's just jump in and keep doing it. The power of storytelling, that's an important thing to think about. All businesses have a story. We've all got histories. We've all got our wins. We've all got these things that suddenly changed our business. These are things that you can use to develop your content, or the seeds of content. And like I said before, get a process started so that you can be very efficient. And that's in who's involved in developing content, how do you sign off, and how do you get your sign off for content being developed, and then publishing it through confirmed channels. All of that sort of process stuff will make you more efficient and again, fast. And of course, you'll need a content calendar. Set a plan for over 3 to 6 months and review it with your team. Identify all the initiatives and the campaigns that content will be used in as well. And when you map it out like that, you'll see opportunities to slice and dice in other campaigns. You know, content A, half of that might be good for another campaign, and it becomes content A/B. So again, think about things like that. I've talked about the repeatable process. And I guess another point that I'd like to say is you just got to love writing. You really do. You need to love writing. You need to love reading and researching. And if you don't, if it's a painful thing to do, it's going to affect the content that you're developing. So if you don't like it, maybe as the owner of the business, find someone that's interested in doing it and who has a talent for it. I personally really enjoy writing copy. I like the research and all that sort of stuff. And surprise, surprise, I'm sort of doing the stuff that I do in terms of the services to clients. Always edit down. That's another golden rule. And always slice and dice. I've got a cheat sheet that I've used for clients. So if you're interested on that, it's a 1-page snapshot that sort of lays out everything in terms of where can we find content and what sort of content for what industries and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in that, just do that, enter that link and I'll send you the gear. Social media marketing. As a starting point, engaging content, and these are, again, my personal points of view. Engaging content is not emotive content. You know, I just tell clients, don't be funny, don't pull on the heartstrings, don't do things like funny Fridays, don't give these homespun truths, and don't do those inspirational graphics that you see. Because content's so hard to develop, don't waste your time with this sort of rubbish. And again, focus on, if I'm posting something, how is this going to enable sales? If it doesn't, save yourself the hassle and get onto something else and just don't even publish it. The channels for social media is Facebook. For me, the main ones are Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and there are millions more and they keep popping up. You need to think about what channels are important for your business and why you should use them. Each platform is individual. They've got individual formats, individual ways of advertising, connecting and messaging their communities. With the majority of them, it comes down to the same point of view from a marketing point of view. Engaging content that drives people to do something that you want. And you also need to develop content that people are encouraged to share your content. So very, very quickly, in terms of must-dos, if we just take one example for LinkedIn, and this is B2B. So from my point of view, the most critical thing that you can do here is have a company page on LinkedIn. So you've got your personal profile, but a company page is a tool to drive people towards your website. So it's a funnel to get people through onto your website where you can do, other selling, and you've got all your content. So you need to optimize your company page to generate those leads. And again, like I just said, it's all about driving prospects to your website. So you need to give them an incentive. For instance, instead of graphics showing, your warehouse or your team members, maybe use a banner that says, we've done a recent launch of a product or an ebook or something like that, for them to say, okay, well, I've seen that. It's when I've hit your company page, I didn't have to read anything. That was the first thing that smacked me in the mouth when I looked at it. And that's the sort of reaction you want. I don't want to think about it. It's a smack in the mouth. I get it. I'm interested. I'm going to look at it. You can also use showcase pages for your company page. So that's subsets of the company page where you're talking about product offers, and it just lets you do more detail on that. And you also want people to connect to your page. And sorry for the little spelling mistakes. I finished all of this just recently, so I didn't really get a chance to, what I've just been saying, editing and proofreading. So you want prospects. You don't just want followers. So when you're thinking of that, think about your ideal customer, and then think about how they would be interested in your company page. When you find those people, you need to link with them, and then you need to invite them and tell them or ask them to follow your company page. And the content on that company page should be interesting enough for them to want to look at it. If you have any sort of medium-sized enterprise, if you do this, you should be getting, I would say, 100 followers, 200 followers a month. That's the sort of level to make it worthwhile. And why that is because this is free advertising. If you've got 500 links on your, or followers for your company page, each time you do a post, those 500 people, it turns up in their feed. So unlike some other channels, this is free. You don't have to pay someone to see your post. You post, and you post regularly, and it pops up. Again, for your page, be part of groups. Again, put your point of view in those groups, but don't be too salesy. Also encourage your employees to be brand ambassadors. So encourage them. Most people will have a LinkedIn profile these days. If they don't, help them to get one, and then get them to share your content that you share on the company page. And this is, again, just free advertising, and it's exponential. So I've got 200 contacts. I post, I get them onto the company page, 200 people see my post. If you've got 10 employees with 200, there you go. The numbers start growing significantly. So there's a lot of value in terms of getting your employees to be brand ambassadors. And just some other quick points. I won't even talk about them. You can look at the recording later, but you need a scheduler. You need marketing automation as well. Compelling graphics. Hashtags are really important to be discoverable to your prospects. And also just measure what you're doing. If you're interested in this sort of stuff, just link with me on LinkedIn or my company page, and you'll see the sort of stuff and how regular I throw it up on my profiles. This is for another client, and it just shows, back in March, they had, less than 100 visitors to their company page. And over time, because we've been doing all the things we've talked about, it's over 500 visitors to their company page. And in terms of followers, and this is new followers, this is not aggregate. So, again, you can see the spike when you do a concerted effort to get this sort of rolling. It is possible. And again, it's free. It's just critical to do. Pay-per-click advertising. I've got only sort of 15 minutes, so I'm just going to be very quick on this section, because it is, it is very involved. What is it? It's a way where you pay a fee each time someone clicks on your ad. So the goals that you should have is driving people to your website or driving them to download your content. The most common things are Google ads, Facebook ads, and LinkedIn sponsored posts and advertising. Again, your content should be engaging. Each channel has, again, their technical variation. So how you set up campaigns, the technical aspects of targeting your audience, remarketing. You need to think about that depending on the channel that you choose. And usually, you know, you can find free resources to train up on this sort of stuff. So don't be shy, look at that. Again, if it's Google Ads, there's a million things you can do on Google to get yourself trained up on that. If you use an agency to do that, you're going to be up for about $1,200 a month and a spend between $1,000 and $3,000. The services vary, and the sort of things you should be getting your agency to do are those sort of things. So research, considering about competitors, customer profiling. They'll do the keyword research, blah, 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 all those points that you can see there. The last highlighted point, I guess, is the most important one. Your management fees generally won't cover content development or website management or landing pages. So that's, again, something that you need to do yourself. And the advertising copy, the actual copy in the ads, they'll probably do that, but you can't be a bystander on that. You've got to be really deeply looking at what they do, because you know your business better than anyone, and you'll be able to put the final touches on that to make sure it's as good and strong as possible. Email marketing or database marketing. So this is one of the most important slides in the entire presentation. And why that is I just can't think of words to say this is like absolutely stop, you know, drinking your coffee now and just pay attention for the next few slides, because it's critical. Email or database marketing has been around forever. It is by far the most effective and best ROI activity that you can do, hands down. And if you, again, Google that, you'll see every year people will be saying the same thing, and it's because it's true. It is a must-do regular activity for your business. If you don't have a mailing list, you need to start building it. And for goodness sake, don't buy a list. You'll be getting those offers every day of the week. If you invest $10 or $1,000 or $3,000, $5,000 in buying an email list, you have pissed away your money. There's absolutely no value in it, and you're probably going to get yourself grief, because a lot of these people will say, I didn't give you permission to contact me. If you have a list, keep it fresh, and we'll talk about that. And that's just the post I put on my LinkedIn profile just recently. And again, it just talks about how valuable email or database marketing is. And you can see there, this particular post said that $1 spent on email marketing generates a $44 return. Crazy numbers, but why that's doable is because email marketing is something that you can do yourself, and it's cheap as chips, and all you need is one prospect to say, yes, I'm going to take advantage of an offer that you've just sent to me, and there's your return. So why is it so good? So simple reasons, and these are just my simple reasons. So, you know, we could probably debate them, but why it's so effective and valuable is you speak directly to your contacts. There's no filters. Your message hits them directly. There's no fees apart from the platform fees if you're using something like MailChimp to message them. You receive direct feedback from your contacts, good or bad, and that's very, very valuable in terms of thinking about the next campaign that you do. You can receive direct measurement on your email campaign effectiveness. So open rates, unsubscribes, one of the great gifts of database marketing, or unopened emails. You get those numbers very quickly, and you can use that to think about, again, the next campaign. You also get direct measurements on the content engagement, the click-through rates, the downloads, the website visits. All of that stuff is visible, again, depending on the platform you use. And it's all stuff that you can use to keep developing your campaigns for the future. So email marketing, you know, has got some negative sort of connotations about it, but Again, why is it so valuable? It's because of those things, mobile phones or mobile devices. Everyone is becoming more mobile centric every year. Your mobile phones, tablets, whatever it is, even the Internet of Things, who knows where the next device is going to be coming from. I'm just going to take a sip of water. The processing power of all these devices is continually improving. And you just have to look at, the mobile phones from year to year. And that all of that technology makes your customers' experience better each time. People are becoming more engaged with content. That is, they're becoming addicted to this stuff on their mobile phone. So they've got a propensity to interact with good content. People can now receive, open, and engage with their content in their emails anywhere, anytime. The top 5 email clients in terms of the platforms that they're getting their emails through regularly includes these 3, iPhone, iPad, and Google Android, which is phones, obviously. Those few points there represent over 50% of the email client share. So the days of emails being opened at a desktop or at home or at work, they're long, long gone. And again, think of it, your message directly into your customer's palm, basically, into their eyes. It's incredibly valuable. So in terms of those easy metrics, what that boils down to is you can test what works. You can continually refine your messaging to drive email opens. And the sort of stuff I'm talking about there is what's the header of your email, what's the preview line. And then when you open up the content, you can see what engages. And this is really with all digital marketing, but with email marketing, database marketing, it's the cheapest and easiest channel to do that sort of stuff through. Some very, very quick points to finish up. I've only got another 6 minutes. Some best practices, and again, you'll find a million of these, and this is just some that I think are valuable. Ensure your database is clean and hygienic. So make sure you get rid of dormant contacts. Segment your database as much as possible in terms of where that customer or contact sits in your segment of customers, and make sure their contact details are correct, because no one wants to get their first name misspelt on an email. Your content, again, we've talked about a lot of that tonight, so it needs to be creative, it needs to be engaging, and it needs to be relevant. So that segment idea is what we're really talking about, is personalizing the message and the content as much as possible. So theoretically, one email campaign could have 3, 4, 5 different emails going out. The first part of the message could be the same for everyone. The second part of the email can have personalized content. And you've got to be mobile friendly because of what we just talked about. How that content is being presented could be on a number of different devices. And so the way your content is presented has to be responsive to the device that your contact is looking on. So that is basically it. So I've gone a bit fast, but you're going to have a recording of the presentation. And if you have any sort of questions, you've got my email address there. I'm quite happy to answer any sort of follow-on questions you might have. And if you have